Dominant afternoon for Joe Gibbs Racing Toyotas. A dominant final stage for Christopher Bell.
Bell will win the Shriners Children's 500.
Now again, we've taken Christopher Bell out of the equation because I think rather 2 tires, 4 tires, no tires.
The winning strategy is the fastest race car.
Yeah, I think we're looking at what strategy maybe can finish second here. Welcome to a new episode of NASCAR Inside the Race presented by Consumer Cellular. I am Larry McReynolds filling in for Steve Letarte. Todd, first 3 races of 2024. The question has been, where are the Toyotas? I think we found them.
They were all sitting in Phoenix, weren't they? It's I saw a glimmer of this last week at Las Vegas. I thought they had speed. I thought they were learning the new aero package. But, Christopher Bell went out in a test in December. He was the fastest car out there. He was the fastest car in practice. He didn't qualify very well, but he sure showed it in the race.
I found it really hard to believe Christopher Bell had never had a top 5 finish there and had never led a single lap until yesterday.
That's crazy to look at, especially with the speed that Adam Stevens has had here, that Christopher's shown several places. But a great day. Let's pop forward and take a look at his line graph here. Day starts in the teens someplace.
Yeah, he qualified 13th, I think it was, and he ended up finishing, I think, 13th in stage 1, so not a lot of movement in that first stage.
Yeah, the short stage, only 60 laps there, but it didn't really drive forward. But the pit stop that they made there at the end of stage 1 seems like it made a direction change for them, because their trajectory from this point forward the rest of the day has a lot of upward to it.
And we had a lot of long green runs in the early part of the race, and that's one thing I kind of picked up on Friday in that 50-minute practice, that really all the Toyotas, but especially the 20 and the 11, seemed like they had pretty good long run speed.
Yes, you look at it, we talked about 13th at the end of stage 1, but really kind of drove his way forward there through a green flag cycle in stage 2. I thought they looked good, thought they could make it, maybe top 5. I didn't expect him to get to where they got to at the end of stage 2. Adam Stevens didn't believe that he could get there either. He comes forward, gives the audio here. Let's listen to it.
Coming to 50 to go. We can easily get that 24. Just pace yourself. The leaders are probably too far out. Focus on that 24.
Is this a little reverse psychology, motivating the driver to get there, kind of challenging him to it?
Well, you think these guys have been together long enough to know Adam Stevens knows how he needs to handle Christopher Bell. And, honestly, I believe whatever Adam Stevens tells Christopher Bell, he truly believes in Adam. That they've just, the experience that Adam has, the time they've spent together, and, they were one of the early ones to make that green flag pit stop in stage 2. They came at lap 116. And they got the jump on some others that came a few laps later.
Here's actually Christopher making the pass on William Byron. A pretty impressive car. And really, I think this is the piece of the day, is the car was really special. Christopher talked about it afterwards, but his ability to roll in here, turn down the racetrack in the wake of 2 cars, it's impressive.
Yeah, it seemed like he was not affected by dirty air or traffic as much as some of the other cars. And that pass for William Byron, that was for 4th. William and Christopher had pitted at the same time under green, so this is about 20 laps after those green flag pit stops.
Yeah, and 40 laps to go?
45 to go in the stage 2. Yeah.
In the stage. And eventually Christopher goes on and passes everybody and ends up winning this stage, puts him in a great position, followed up by a pit stop that was a little slow.
Yeah, he comes in, everybody's going to pit here at the end of stage 2, and what you'll see is, pause right here. All right, watch the jack man right there. He is only looking toward the front tire changer. He never looked to the rear, and I think the right rear is not ready to go, and he had to stay there to make sure that lug nut was secure.
Yeah, let's back this up and take a look at this. Get back here to the back. But when we look at it, right here.
And one reason he's actually putting the right front on for the front tire changer, that's another thing that hinders him from looking to the rear.
There just isn't time with a 9-second pit stop to check off on anything. You've just got to feel your way through it. The piece I was impressed with, this tire's on the ground and the changer's staying there to get the nut tight. He makes sure that it gets tight. A lot of times with a tire on the ground, you can't get them fully tight. They got away with this one. He did due diligence here.
Yeah, he's making sure not only is that lug nut tight, but that locking mechanism, that it engages. Now, the penalty was about a 12.5-second stop. They went from leading to 10th, but just think what the penalty could have been had he left with that tire not secure.
If he has to come back to pit road, it's going to be tail end.
Their day is done.
It's a devastating day. Yeah. So a really good deal here. But knowing where they are, they took the time to do it. Adam Stevens, I think, came on the radio, coached him forward. Let's play that audio.
We'll be right there. Just take care of it on the front side. It'll be there.
We're just not meant to lead laps. That's all.
Should be a couple long runs here. We got the best car in the field, bud. Keep your head on, take a deep breath. We're going to inch our way back up there.
We'll be fine.
Well, we hear from Adam there that he's just trying to get his driver's confidence back up. He drove all the way to the win.
He knows they got a fast car.
He does, and he's just making sure that Christopher doesn't lose sight of that. So they come out 10th. We have a few quick cautions that kind of jumble up the strategies for everybody. I think Adam did the right thing. He waited until they were solidly within their fuel window, comes to pit road, puts 4 tires in that car, but he comes back outside the top 20.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see it right here. To your point, we had 3 quick cautions, and strategy was making my head spin. But because at lap 217, with coming and getting 4 tires, he's going to start, to your point, outside the top 20. And now we're going to go back racing with 92 laps to go. That's a pretty vertical mountain at Phoenix.
It is, and it's one where you wonder where it's going to be. But the piece I really like when you look at this is this first jump right here. We've got a couple laps here, and he goes straight up. And he gets himself back in fighting position. From that position forward, it was really impressive to watch the run that Christopher put together and drove himself to the win.
Well, he had a good race car. Adam Stevens, his crew chief, was pumping him up. Stevie Reeves, his spotter. He obviously had to do his job too. I'm sure there was a lot on his shoulders as Christopher's making his way through the field.
And you look at it, and we've got B-roll of it here, and we did it 8 times speed just so we could fit it in. But the last 8 laps to make the pass for the eventual win. Let's roll that forward in the background here. It's impressive. That car could go any place he wanted to. He just made time. When he got to the 54 car, just made use of him and got gone.
Well, we know it's a challenge to pass at Phoenix, but anybody that really had a large complaint about it, I would just take and have them watch those laps there on that last run of that 20 car, because in about 40 laps, Todd, he passed 18 cars. That's basically a car every 2 laps.
Yeah, it's an impressive run and shows that this package, if you get it right, you can make it happen.
So Todd, we only had 3 cautions in the first 2 stages. Pretty uneventful. And remember, 2 of those cautions were for the stage breaks. But then we started getting all these cautions after the restart of the final stage, and strategy started going all over the place. I always have a philosophy, because people second guess me for 18 years about my strategy. I like to say there's not bad strategy, there's not good strategy, there's just some strategy that works out a little better than other. That kind of covers it right there.
And a lot of times that strategy is what happens with cautions that happen in the future. You've got to look forward to that. We had a caution that came out at 199 was the opportunity to come to pit road. The initial caution, I think that was the 8 car that spun. That seemed like it was outside the fuel window. A couple guys gambled and just tried to top off, but then we got one at 209. That seemed to me like, if I'm not in the top 5, it's a no-brainer for me. I'm coming, because I'm right on the edge of my fuel window. I'm going to try to cycle myself forward.
Yeah, because when you looked at when the caution came and when everybody was going to make their pit stops, you knew we were going to go back racing with right at 100 laps to go, and that just was right there. You might have to save a little bit of fuel in the beginning, but you felt like you were safe to make it. That was the caution basically where John Hunter Nemechek tried to just drive right through Joey Logano down there in turn 1.
Boy, I felt bad for Joey there. That was quite a ride. But here we've got 4 guys, and I'll look at it. They're in that 10th to 20th range.
These were all 4-tire stop. I think they felt like, we're going to make sure, we got 4 tires to go to the end if need be, and we're going to make sure this thing is packed full of fuel.
And I'd look at this. If we look at it here, these guys are all 10th to 20th. Really good, straightforward call. And then what we've got highlighted on here is where they came out post this pit stop at 209 before they started. Here they came out 17th, 19th, 18th, and 23rd.
Well, and one thing, Todd, they may have been banking on is the guys that had not pitted yet that stayed out on that caution before this and on this one, they're going, you know what, we're not going to worry about those guys. They're going to take care of themselves one way or the other.
They were going to have to stop for fuel and tires at some point, right? So there were, what, 15 of them that stayed out?
Yeah, the 15 drivers stayed out at that 209 stop right there.
And then we see that happen, and that there was a stop that happens pretty quickly there right afterwards. You see this upward trajectory of everybody. That's all because all of those guys came and came to pit road. Now we're looking at being in the top 5.
Yeah. Again, I think they knew if they got another caution, that those 15 guys, for the most part, that stayed out on that caution, they were going to be coming to pit road, or if it stayed green, they were eventually going to have to come pit road more than likely anyhow.
And you look at these 4 guys, they all finished in the top 10, netted out from a positive day for all 4 of them.
And a lot of them definitely needed a top 10 finish. There is no question.
Yeah, this was a great day for these guys. The other strategy that kind of played out, the guys that were probably top 10, a little bit more conservative, were right on our fuel window. I don't want to give them my track position. Maybe we're going to go longer, but they didn't. They got a quick caution and ended up having to make decisions at 217.
But I think then that it was almost a no-brainer. Honestly, Todd, I felt like that strategy we just saw right there, when it happened, I went, that might be the race-winning strategy. Now, again, we've taken Christopher Bell out of the equation because I think rather 2 tires, 4 tires, no tires.
The winning strategy is the fastest race car.
So, yeah, I think we're looking at what strategy maybe can finish second here.
Yeah, and making the best of your day. I thought that was one that had the best opportunity to pole vault you forward from a deeper position. Here we are, the guys, these are the 4 guys that finished in the top 10 that came at 217. Now, 2 of these guys did take 2 tires.
Ty Gibbs in the 54, you think about Brad Keselowski in the 6, they're going to roll the dice. They're going to do 2 right side tires only, try to get that track position, but then you got Tyler Reddick, who had a fast race car yesterday in that Toyota. Ryan Blaney, who was kind of quiet most of the day, they elected to go with 4 tires, knowing this was going to still be probably a very long run to the checkered flag.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up for one that could go all the way to the end, and what would have been from there was 90 laps or something like that. So
92 to go when I think we got the restart.
I would think 4 tires at that point, but you really have to consider that we've had multiple cautions, and we put tires on at the stage break at 190. Those left side tires have probably only got 8 green flag laps on them, not a ton of green flag laps. I understand the risk here. It worked out for Ty Gibbs. He pole vaulted forward and was in contention to win this race.
Well, the bottom line is when you look at these 4 drivers here, when you look at Ty Gibbs, look at Brad Keselowski, they finished in front of Ryan Blaney and Tyler Reddick. Ryan Blaney, yeah, made it back to 5th, but Tyler Reddick, restarting deep in the field with those 4 fresh tires, could only get back to 10th, and that's a car that led some of this race and even won a stage.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be a contender for Christopher Bell, and ultimately, the 4 tires on the 20 car was going to beat everybody's strategy because it was just so good. The other strategy that came out of here, there was kind of one team that was on their own.
There's always a rebel.
There was, and Martin Truex Jr. and James Small, they had a little different agenda to this piece. It was interesting to see that I thought their car had pace. It kind of came forward. They finally got themselves up near the front, and they took a different avenue.
They did, and I mean, they were solid all day long, as you can see here most of the day. I mean, they were running right inside the top 10. They had qualified 11th. Of course, this was a green flag pit stop right there, but they just kind of had a steady progression all day long. But then at the end of stage 2, like everybody else, they pitted for 4 tires. But then James Small, in all those quick cautions that came out, he had the decision to make. He ends up leaving Martin Truex Jr. out there and passed up an opportunity to pit each of those times.
We've got a little audio. Let's listen to that.
How many do you think are going to jump us here?
A bunch. The other option is we stay and just hope for another yellow. If not, we're going to have to do a green flag stop. But it'll still be okay, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. It's your call, bud.
Stay out, stay out.
Copy that.
A bunch of guys that do right sides there. So the first guy that pitted then is P10. Then you've got at least 5 on right side. Obviously best case scenario here that runs 20, 30 laps and everyone comes again.
So there's a conversation between a driver and a crew chief, and they decide to go a different direction than everybody else. it puts them in a position they control the race. It's just where it goes from here.
Now, I know Martin knows what he's got in his race car, but James Small is the one that has all the information on top of that pit box about who pitted the last caution, who pitted the caution before that. And you know, with them pitting at the end of stage 2, which had been lap 190, 122 laps to go to the checkered flag. We know that's well outside the fuel window, but I will say, is we got all those cautions. There were 25 caution laps in there. We're getting close now. I'm still not willing to say they could make it, but they're getting closer and closer to be able to go to the end.
But if you look at this in the play for them, and I think that's a valid piece, a caution that happens anywhere from 250 to 300 can put them in the catbird seat. If we look at the lap position graph here, this is all him leading.
Yeah.
He leads from that caution until he finally pits at 272. I think they're in a great position. A caution at any point in there, it needed to get 20 laps into the run.
Yeah.
But once it got to 240, anywhere beyond that, a caution comes out, everybody's coming to pit road and he's controlling the race.
Yeah, there's no question. Now, I would say there might be a possibility if we'd only run like 20 to 30 laps, some of those guys that took 4 fresh tires on one of those previous cautions, they may roll the dice and go with just 2 tires. But yeah, absolutely. If we go far enough after that final restart there with 92 laps to go, more than likely everybody's going to come to pit road and get some sort of tires. The only thing I also kind of question about the strategy is this green flag pit stop right here at lap 272 with 40 laps to go. They probably could have run to close to lap 300. It appeared maybe what he was doing is splitting those laps up. You know, he had run basically a little over 50 laps and now he's pitting with 40 laps to go, because we know the further they go, the worse the tire degradation is going to be.
You talked about the crew chief's got all the information. He's got the engineers in his ears. This is a calculated move, and we've got audio to back this up. If you listen when they come out of this pit stop, James tells him that we're still in a position we can drive up possibly to the top 5. Let's listen to that.
How far do you think we can get, James?
If we're efficient, we can get the 5th or 6th. It's all just going to depend on how quickly you get past these guys.
Did you say you thought we could get the 5th?
Yeah, if we can get through traffic, good. 18 more here.
Yeah, it seems like a stretch.
So there's another, I guess, a second plan to this. I was like you. I'm thinking you run this thing till you're out of gas and hope to get a caution in there. But at some point, he's weighing out the risk and reward. If you go to 300 and don't get the caution, you're probably going to end up 15th, 18th. He was in a position still that he could come out with possibly a top 5 day.
Yeah, and I know they had told Martin about 4 or 5 laps before the stop that they probably were going to cycle back to about 5th. They had told him that. Now, they had a little bit of a slow stop. It was about 12 and a half seconds. And of course, all the calculations, they can't factor in when you catch a car, how you get by a car. So there's a lot of variables there. Even a 2-second faster stop, he was about 4 seconds behind Chastain and Blaney at the checkered flag. So even if they'd have had a 10.5-second stop, we don't know, but not sure it was going to make a difference.
But to come out with a solid 7th place finish on a day when you took a gamble on a different strategy, I think he calculated and played this back and got himself where a solid day and something they can build forward from.
Well, the way 2024 started at Daytona and Atlanta, back-to-back top 10 finishes, but think about this. You got to go back to August of last year, the last time Martin Truex Jr. had a top 5 finish.
So now on to Bristol. Concrete, half-mile, high-banked racetrack. We bring the intermediate aero package here. NASCAR keeps that for Dover and Bristol because the center corner speeds are so high. They left the downforce in the cars here. It's back to the package we had at Vegas, but there's a caveat to it. We could run in the damp racetrack, right?
Yeah, and I think the key is a damp racetrack, but the caveat, unlike road courses, where NASCAR kind of lets the teams make a decision either to put the wet weather tires on or not, NASCAR will say, okay, everybody put wet weather tires on, everybody take wet weather tires off, because you know there's a speed discrepancy, and at a half-mile racetrack with probably 36 cars, the high bank concrete, they'd just be driving over the top of each other.
Yeah, it's a great call to just make that call for the teams and put it forward. Hopefully we don't have to deal with any of that. We've got sunshine and good clear weather. Love that we're going back, much like you, love that we're going back to concrete. I love the fact that I get to have a race that I build a notebook for my playoff race coming back. And it's a great place. You see guys all the way up the top. When the rubber gets up there, the bottom works pretty well too. It's a good racetrack. There's some unique factors of Bristol. Pit road is one. Let's get into that.
Yeah, I mean it is. You know, we've had other tracks that had 2 pit roads for years. Darlington, Rockingham, even Martinsville many years ago had 2 pit roads. But there was a way to encompass it into one. Just not a way to do that at Bristol. So you've got basically, you've got the back pit road right here, and then you've got a front pit road. But it's handled different, to your point, whether it's under green or under caution. Now, under green, if you're pitting on the backstretch, you can come off the racetrack, you can go down pit road into your pit box, and you can leave over in turn 3. If you're pitting on the front stretch, you can come off the racetrack, go straight down pit road, go into your pit box, and then leave and go right back out on the racetrack in turn 1. But not the case under caution.
Yeah, if you have to come under caution, we have to run all of pit road. So you'll come off of turn 1, you'll enter pit road here into turn 2, you'll come down even if you're in this pit box in the backstretch. But then you've got to stay on the black in the pit road area where they have timing lines all the way around and all the way down front stretch, exiting at turn 1.
And I think what you said there, Todd, is a big key, and that's pit road speed. 30 miles per hour. And it never fails because of this area right here being a turn that drivers, they don't hit their pit road lights like they need to, and we get busted for speeding. And a lot of times it's those sections right there on the apron in turns 3 and 4.
When you look at it, and I'll leave it right there, but this section here where it transitions around the corner, you actually, if we're going to go out here and run the radius, and as a crew chief who's been through this, if you run right out here on the outside, you set your lights up on the dash to run almost 5 miles an hour faster.
Yeah.
Because pit road speed is calculated at the inside wall of pit road. So the consistent speed around this corner, if you want to run a consistent speed, if you could come in here and hug this wall, that's going to be the way that you maintain the same pace. So to your point, these sections, the transition back to the straightaways and leaving, that's where the big transition happens.
Yeah, and it never fails. There is an abundance of pit road speeding penalties because, to my point earlier, 30 miles per hour. And if you look at it under caution, it's a half-mile racetrack. You're almost running the entire length of the racetrack on pit road on a pit stop.
Yeah, and then the other caveat about your green flag piece that we started with is if you pick a pit stall on the front stretch, your driver has to be mentally aware if he has to come under green, and usually if he has to come under green, it's because something's happened, that he doesn't enter pit road where he normally does. He enters off of turn 4. That's one I've seen guys miss.
Some of the best in the business, champions of the sport, not do it in the proper way.
And if you don't do it, it's a huge time penalty. So it'd be interesting to see how this plays out if we get to any green flag cycles.
Well, we've kind of set you up for Bristol, our first true short track of 2024. What driver's going to drive up there to victory lane and wave that sword in the air? If you want to find out, tune in this Sunday, 3:30 Eastern Time on Fox.